We buy into the program and we remove ourselves without even knowing it most of the time from the systems that are actually beneficial for our health, beneficial for our relationships, beneficial for personal relationships, your psyche, your body, your soul, like stuff that you wouldn't even realize that were within your ability to do, because the mechanisms within the society are so based upon trying to get by, trying to, just look a certain way, feel a certain way. Sometimes we don't even question the very basic nature of our reality, because it's all been done before, supposedly. But we don't ask questions about our reality because so-called powers that be are so super smart. They're so all-knowing that they can't be wrong. Evolution from monkeys. It can't be wrong. There's science. The sun is 93 billion miles away. Why? Because science. The moon has a shadow on it from the earth. It's been proven by science. Science is it's like the fix-it for everything. It's the one-size-fits-all answer to any question that you have. And it's not saying that science is not relevant. What I'm saying is that any kind of numbers or magic or observations of your reality can be sold to you in a particular way. They can be sold to you to work for you, or they can be sold to you to work against you. And if you just ask like basic questions of like, do you really believe that the way society is being run today, is it for the benefit of the people or is it for the benefit of the few? And that's where it really boils down to, is this haves and have-nots program. It's not about the micro separations that we observe, like race and all that other stuff. Like I said in previous videos, your culture and your race matters. It's a part of your positive framework if you utilize it correctly. It's the way it's being programmed. But if you use it, or it's being used against you, then you're not really going to make the best of it. You're not going to tap into who and what you are, and it's actually going to work against you, not only individually but on your whole family. It starts to affect everything. Everything that you think you are is being given to you by somebody else. the Columbian era, so-called Christopher Columbus discovering the new world and telling you, oh yeah, since we are the most evolved monkeys in the universe, according to Carl Sagan and Neil deGrasse Tyson, they all believe in monkey evolution. They all believe in the Big Bang. They all believe in the theory of gravity and the theory of relativity. They all believe in all the stuff that their forefathers. That's the whole thing. It's like you have forefathers of the Western civilization. They put their faces on the mountainside. That's a statement. It's not a celebration. That's a statement. Mount Rushmore. It's a statement to the world. It was a statement to the Native Americans. It's a statement to civilization, so-called civilization, Western civilization as a whole. Is we can do whatever the hell we want. We took this shit over, made everybody slaves, pretty much fucked the world. And if you say anything about it, we're just gonna bomb your ass. And if you're not taken out like physically, we'll just call you crazy. You're just crazy. So anybody who questions Western civilization, scientism, anybody who questions that world, you'll be demonized. You'll be discredited in some kind of way. And that program runs so deep that we have people who defend it. And that's how they make gods and kings out of themselves. That's the whole point, is to make gods and kings out of the people who write these history books. That's why they say, like, history books are written by the people who win those wars. So if you constantly make a program, or you constantly make civilization, so-called civilization, because it's not civilization if the system is based upon war. It's not civilized. You have to understand that. This is not civilization. We're in the classroom of the new world. We're in the classroom of everything that's taught to us in the university system. And the teachers are people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, Michio Kaku, Ray Kurzweil, Carl Sagan. All these people who just are basically, like they say, we're human civilization is just a speck in the sands of time, just one piece of dust in the entire sands of time in the entire universe. Well, this Western civilization is just a speck of shit in the whole sands of intellect, when you include the Mayan civilization, the Egyptian or the Cometian history, the pyramids, all of these ancient structures, the ancient sciences where they still haven't answered any of these questions. All of that stuff is not even up for debate because they don't entertain it. And so we kind of act like it doesn't matter or it doesn't exist, when if you were to go down to Peru, into Sacsayhuaman and Machu Picchu, or into the pyramids, a lot of the answers that we're looking for are going to be answered when we start asking the right questions. And we can't start answering the right questions until we stop asking the wrong questions. We have to start asking our questions that don't need to be filtered through the system, sit in our truth. They don't have any answers for us. They don't have any answers that are trustworthy because it's only beneficial for the system. They only care about themselves. So what questions can we answer to help people realize that this system has nothing to do with the benefit, the well-being of you as the individual, as you as a culture, as you as a family, as you as sovereign beings, human beings, as you as a being in a relationship with your soul, the physical relationship with the non-physical relationship, the subconscious with the conscious, the soul with the body, the mind with the soul with the mind with the body. Like, all these questions are not even asked or even answered because we didn't even know we had to ask those questions, because we're so bombarded by the shit that we're told to focus on. When you start to empower yourself is when you start asking and answering your own questions and not relying on a system or waiting on a program to give you validation. And that's the thing, it's not only you asking and answering these questions, it's you opening yourself up to being comfortable with not knowing the answers. You couldn't question the reality that was given to you by your parents. You couldn't question the reality that was given to you by the authority figures of the school system. You can't question the reality that's prepackaged to you by the university system and the mainstream media. Can't do any of that stuff. It's like literally off limits. It's like you're living off limits. You're living in a reality that is off limits. Everything is based upon limitation. When they made the Big Bang, they made the Big Bang meant for a mental enslavement, to make it look like you're just an accident. You have no meaning in your purpose. So we're gonna give you the meaning and purpose that you need to exist in the reality that we had prepackaged for you to believe in living in the first place. You're welcome. Oh, you got something to say about that shit? All right, here, lock your ass up. All right, take you out. All right, we'll do whatever it is that they're gonna do to discredit or discourage a thought pattern outside the authority figure program. And heliocentrism is like one of the main pieces out there that keeps you from asking those questions that get you closer to yourself. Like I said in the previous video, is flat earth your savior? Hell no. It's nothing. When you really boil it down, flat earth ain't shit. It's like flat earth is nothing if you don't do anything with it. It's like having a tool belt full of these tools that you can use for your benefit, that you can use for learning and understanding and growth. You can use these tools not only for you right now, but for the benefit of your children and your children's children. And if we get so locked up in how we think, like what's going on right now, the timeline that gets presented to us by these timekeepers, these timekeepers are the ones who really lock us into how to think, how to dress, how to act, how to sing, how to raise your children. Everything is packaged for you, and that's literally manipulating time. Time is being manipulated through your consciousness, through your lack of consciousness, through your lack of asking questions. Like in your dreams, when you're dreaming, in one dream you had a week ago, you faced this demon, and this demon scared the shit out of you, and you're just like, I'm getting the hell out of here. You move into another dream. You made the decision to run away and not face it. So since you're the creator of that entire world, that universe of the subconscious dream realm, you actually jump into another dream. But in the conscious reality, in the conscious realm, that happens on thoughts, that happens in experiences, and that happens in the moment and over this linear time frame. So when you don't face things now, when you don't face things that are part of your reality today, they will get passed down through your soul timelines. They'll get passed down, and then your kids are gonna have to deal with that. Your kids are gonna have to deal with all this stuff. You can see this on I mean, people know this. So one of the main constructs that keeps people from going outside of the dream that gets presented to us by these scientism pushers is locking ourselves into their illusions. We get locked into their nonsense. We get locked into their time loop. That's what it is. It's a time loop. So once we limit ourselves to their time loops, then you're giving your dreams away. You're giving your life away. You're giving your experience away. And to who? Like I said earlier, to who are you giving this energy to? Who are you giving this experience to? Who are you giving your existence to? You're giving your existence away to people who say there's no meaning and purpose for your existence. You're giving your existence away to people who say you're just a cosmic piece of dust. You're just a nothing. You're an accident. You basically shouldn't even have been here right now, because all of this just came from, gravity creating a situation Gravity creating a situation, and what? Nothing? Accident? Oops. Monkeys? Oops. Humanity? Oops. Mussels? Oops. Clams, oysters, fish, zebra, lion. Like all the intricacies of this place. There's no creative intelligence here. So when you want to boil it down, like I boil it down regularly, is to the creative and the destructive intelligence. So the creative and the destructive intelligence is you tuned in. No limitations. Not limited by the, that's cold. Not limited by societal constructs. Not limited by individuals' thoughts about who and what you are and how you should be. I mean, you have limitations, obviously. That's not to say that something's wrong with limitations. The conscious reality is a limitation in itself. The body, the physical body, is a limitation in itself. It has a meaning and a purpose. So, what for is my point. To live your waking life in a world that says you don't even have to think, you don't even have to act, you don't have to do shit. We thought of everything for you. Your reality is said and done. In fact, you're just nothing. You're just an accident. So, don't even bother. Don't even bother with anything. Just shut your mouth, go to work, and don't worry about nature, because technology is it. That's it. The Western civilization, as it's sold to you, one of the main mechanisms that make you believe in it, just like people defend to the umpteenth degree. They will defend heliocentrism. How, Sway? They will defend the works of their own slave masters, because who they think they are is so locked in to what their slave masters think of them. So when your slave masters think you're crazy because you ask questions about the nature of this earth, the basic scientific makeup of your existence, then you're questioning the people that think for you. That's when you're locked into the artificial grid, the synthetic reality. It's when you say, look, I'm not even going to allow myself to question this experience anymore. In fact, I'm going to defend it. That's like negative gears. It's like shifting backwards in reverse. Time passing doesn't mean evolving. It doesn't mean learning. That's like the difference between being old and being wise. Being old don't make you wise. Time passing and hip-hop expanding into what it is today doesn't make it evolve. Because if you ask me, and if you ask other hip-hop, classic hip-hop people, they'll say hip-hop has actually de-evolved. And if you ask the same question about humanity, it's the same thing. You ask certain people, look at the pyramids, look at Machu Picchu, look at all this that's going on that we call normal, and you gotta ask yourself, have we really evolved, or have we just been playing the same song over and over again and changing the tone here and there, just like all these smartphones, to make it look like something has changed? And the reason why that story can continue to be played over and over again is because at the heart of everything, at the foundation, people do not question their reality. People do not question the authority or the questions that get put out by this system. Because if you question your reality enough, you'll question yourself right out of that limited reality. And you'll answer yourself through the silence, because you have to go there first. You have to hit that middle point and start to ask the questions. It's a shifting from the external to the internal. Everything in this Western civilization is externalized. How you think of your relationship, your partner, your so-called success, your life, your parents, everything. Everything is about outside of you. Heliocentrism, it's all about the body, the physical, the materialistic fabric of reality. Nothing is about the inside. In fact, the closest thing that the mainstream reality has to something on the inside is mainstream religions. And even that is filtered through a materialistic platform on the mainstream circuit when you look at how these churches are just taking advantage of people, how these priests are taking advantage of the children. All of this is because they're doing the most ultimate jacked up things in reality. It's the worst of the worst, and it's all about this limitation and keeping you from going truly inward. If you're going inward through a book, through a cult, through another person, through a savior of some sort, through something outside of yourself, you're going, that's a mechanism to get you to a certain point. That's why I said, not like a lot of this stuff is like completely bad. You can get some good things out of the Bible. You can learn some good things from people who ultimately like really just want to take advantage of you. You can learn some things from them. And that's the whole thing, is like, if you don't learn how to get out of that situation when the time comes, then their magic worked. Their magic worked on you. And it's up to you to figure it out, like what's the next step. But a lot of people don't want to do that because you're vulnerable. And you have to, when you're in that space, you have to reset. That's the frequency mechanism up these upturns and these downturns, is to, if you just live linearly, that's not any kind of experience. It's garbage. That's like believing, just like the scientism community, you're locked in time. It's just a tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. It's a linear construct. It's based upon death, because you convince yourself of a beginning, and if you convince yourself of a beginning and an ending, which is the main thing, is like you're gonna die. If you convince yourself of an ending in it, then you really have no purpose. This is why fear is so amplified in society today. This is why horror movies and all this stuff is so amplified in society today, is because they need to remind you of your death. They need to remind you of your fear of death. They need to remind you of your not having any meaning and purpose. Of you're just being just that's the main thing in movies, is when they make horror movies and all that stuff, that's existing to convince you it's not so bad. Hey, what's going on right now? It's not so bad. It could be like the It movie. It could be like Aliens. It could be like Independence Day. It could be like Armageddon. It could be like all this other nonsense they put on television to make you think you're being entertained. They don't give a shit about your entertainment. They care about mind controlling you. It's all about mind control. Everything. Heliocentrism, the university system, the labeling of indigenous people and aboriginal people as primitive and savage, the sexualization of the divine feminine, the sexualization of little kids, the whole society as it's sold to you on television is sick. It's sick. And that's another like wedge that you can use to wedge yourself out of that trap, is to start asking yourself, like, look around at where the power of your oppressor lies. Where the power of your oppressor comes from. How does it affect your reality? And what is it surrounding? Like, look at Hollywood. Look how sick Hollywood is. Look at the public education system. It's all about conformity and authority. Does it have anything to do with the expansion of your consciousness, the connection of you to your family and friends? That they tell you that, oh, it's good, you can have a relationship with kids and in school, and it's good for your growth to have kids growing up in the public education system. They tell you all this stuff. They make you think like, oh yeah, this is the way it's supposed to be. It's not the way it's supposed to be. It's the way it's supposed to be in the world of limitation. And the world of limitation has nothing to do with the expansion of consciousness, the healing of the human condition as it is today, the well-being of generations over time. It has all to do with authority. It has all to do with the imprisonment of your soul, your mind, and your body. Look at technology. Look at like simple things like planned obsolescence. Things that are actually built to fail. Toys, gadgets, computers, cars. Everything is built to fail. It has an expiration date. So, do you think they give a shit about nature? Do they give a shit about the resources? No. None of this is taken into account. None of this matters. So, what are we really doing here? Like, instead of asking these far out questions about, when the pyramids were built, that stuff will go, that stuff will come on its own. We'll answer those questions in their own time. In fact, those are the kinds of answers that just come naturally when you're relying on yourself, going inward. I know it's kind of like abstract to say that, but that's coming from my own experience, is that some of the most important things that you think are important right now aren't really that important, and they're actually connected to bigger storylines. And once you start asking questions of those bigger storylines, that's when you start to answer those questions that you spent all this time and focus on, and still giving your energy away to other people asking and answering those questions for you. And you could have been spending that time asking and answering questions that you can actually answer from the inside out. Like I was saying, that actually empowers yourself. Test. These are the creators of your universe, your synthetic universe. If you believe people who speak like that, then you believe a McDonald's version of humanity. You believe a McDonald's version of your spirit. You believe, at best, a McDonald's version of the psychological perspective of this reality. And if you don't go any further than that, you will limit yourself and anchor yourself even deeper into the materialistic version of reality. The more you are locked into the materialistic version of reality, the more more difficult it is to make a connection with your soul, or even observe your soul perspective in your everyday reality. Because it's like when you wake up from a dream, you're transitioning out. The more when you wake up here, the harder it is to remember your dream, because your dreams are the 360-degree perspective of you. That's why they're so kind of chaotic and all over the place, because they speak metaphorically, whereas the conscious reality speaks more like linearly. So the linear perspective, or the scientific perspective of this reality, is basically the nuts and bolts of the conscious realm. And when you are sold a play school version of the nuts and bolts of the conscious realm, not to mention it's a play school version, but it's a play school version without the instruction manual of even that play school version, which the instruction manual comes within the relationship between the conscious realm and the subconscious realm. So when you don't know anything about your dreams, you're not going to know anything about your potentials in the conscious reality. You're not going to maximize one without the other. This is the nuts and bolts of the duality experience. You can't have one without the other. Like we were speaking in a live chat last night, talking about the relationship between positive and negative, yin yang, destructive and creative intelligence. In order to create the most solid foundations, you have to destroy the old foundations that do not benefit you, and in fact are weighing you down from moving forward. So if you do not destroy the parasite or the remaining pieces of the virus that are inlaid within the foundations of this experience, the conscious experience, it will affect the way you can interact within this reality and interact within your subconscious reality. Everything is affected by everything. Every thought, every action, every breath, every heartbeat. When you slow it down outside of time and you really come to that centered space, then you're tapping into the allness that is your existence. It's outside of time, literally. It's understanding, understanding, and overstanding the relationship between your dreams and your conscious reality. When you're locked into one version, the linear, the patriarchal program, the destroy, the dominate, the control, and then expand that even further. You have some people who only want to dominate. That's their like fetish. Then you have people who want to control. That's their fetish, whether they know it or not. Sometimes it's a defense mechanism. Sometimes people want to dominate people to control. Sometimes people want to control people to dominate them. And this goes into the energy hoarding of manipulating consciousness, manipulating time. If you are in a constant state of fear and destruction and separation and lack of understanding and ignorance and destructive behavior, you will not be allowed to create anything. You will not be allowed to activate the polar opposite of that which is the destructive intelligence of this reality. You will not. That is the definition of empowerment. You won't be able to tap into that to get out of those locked in, off limits realities, because you're fearful of facing your demons. You're fearful of facing that parasite. And if you cannot face the parasites or the demons of your conscious reality, your waking state, you're sure as hell are not going to be able to face anything in your subconscious realm, and vice versa. It works both ways. So when people are even scared to speak in reference to, like, in my early videos, it was difficult to speak about a lot of the topics that I was talking about, that I speak about regularly right now, because I hadn't gone to the depths of understanding the compassionate origin of a lot of these topics. So when you are not locking it into a space of understanding along with the overstanding, it's unstable. It's a broken foundation. And that foundation, that's what I was talking about earlier, that's the foundation to your creative expansion. You will not be able to create a creative expansion if you only have an understanding of your reality. The only way you can anchor yourself and maximize the not only compassionate perspective of your reality, but everything that vibes on those high vibes of observing your reality, until you get into that space, that's going into the understanding and overstanding of what's really going on. So if you just have a basic understanding, which is like an A+ for the norm reality, a basic understanding of politics that is garbage, and that's like the norm, or whatever it is, whatever somebody considers to be the norm. You have all these different versions of the norm, and depending on what you're comfortable with, you'll fit inside that box. And each time you expand yourself, you're expanding your boxes. So an understanding, which could be relative to like the public education system, it's not for your benefit. It's not to give you what you need to challenge the authority that keeps you enslaved. It's not even a space of giving you the ability to exist comfortably as a sovereign being. You have to, your food, your water, your shelter is all filtered through an enslavement system, the taxation system, the virus parasitic system. When you look around at the gentrification of this reality, you're looking our cities, you're looking around at a parasite. that system of destruction will continue to expand and continue to evolve based upon the spaces that are allowed to exist and people not activating their creative intelligence and their creative balances and expansions that outweigh this parasite that is pretty much running full throttle when you have people not even willing to question their reality, when you have people not even willing to think outside of the box, people not even willing to like entertain a question of their reality because it's too difficult to change a thought. Like, it's easy to not do something in action. It's easy to not kick a puppy. But to change your thoughts is very difficult for a lot of people, because your thoughts go into the very nature of who you think you are, who other people think you are in the materialistic version of reality, because your subconscious is everything that you are in every moment. So when we do not tap into everything that we are in every moment, then you will only subject yourself to everything you think you are in every piece of a moment. So you're only half living at best. You're only half living in a half world, because the entire collective is doing the same thing. This is what happens when your entire experience is off limits, even from your damn thoughts. You can't even think outside of what is mainstream. You can't think outside of what is popular. It's not allowed. If you even think like that, you will be prosecuted. You will be persecuted. You will be taken out, destroyed. If you help other people think about that stuff, the same things will happen. If that is not an enslavement, I don't know what is. When you start to expand into the perspectives that exist outside of the idea of time and the idea of yourself, that's when you start to expand time and the idea of yourself till you actually get to that space of silence, which is the space between waking up in the morning, being in a dream and waking up in the morning, the space between seconds, the space between milliseconds, the space between forever. So it's the infinite space between, because the external reality, the conscious reality is the infinite space of this density. It will just continue to expand within the laws of this experience, which is the physical reality. So there are laws here. Theories based upon artificial laws will control and manipulate time through the consciousness of the people who believe those theories to be true, believe those theories to be law. You are believing yourself into parasitism. You're believing yourself into a synthetic universe. This is what heliocentrism is. This is why flat earth is such a threat to not only the heliocentric programming, but literally everything that this system is built on, this synthetic system is built upon. All of the fiat currency system, the maritime admiralty system, the legal name programming, the DMV, the public education system, the university system, the politics, the wars, the destruction of nature, the destruction of the psyche of humanity, the destruction of your body through all the food, the fluoridated water, fluoridated minds, fluoridated babies, poison food. All of this stuff is a light is shown upon all of these topics once you start to question the individuals who have decided what your universe is for you. Once you start to question the credibility of the individuals who are the mouthpieces of the Haves program, who are heads of state of the materialistic programming, MTV, VH1, politics, Republicans, Democrats, distractions, controlled oppositions, economic hitmen, the economic hit states. All of these programs are intertwined within the belief system of believing that the individuals who create or were the so-called forefathers of this so-called new world have any connection to humanity or relationship with nature, this is how it's all tied in. It's all tied in when you remove the limitations to observe how limited we've become, how we've been locked into ideas of ourselves ever since we forgot our connections and our relationships, our connections to nature and our relationships with each other on a soul, mind, and body level. When you're sitting outside of time, you're sitting outside of yourself. You're sitting inside. If you're sitting outside of yourself, truly, that means you're sitting inside of everything that is not perceived to be yourself, which is your body, your physical body. That is tapping into the allness of this this experience, this existence, this platform that gives you the ability to observe and question your reality. There's a science there, there's an alchemy there that allows you to question and expand upon that platform. The Big Bang, gravity, relativity theory, these all theories of the Big Bang, all of these theories are false platforms for your psyche, false platforms for your entire idea of yourself, so that the idea of yourself actually becomes yourself. So there have been more and more mechanisms that maintain the ideas of ourselves. Those perspectives are actually starting to outweigh in many people, and even in myself when I was in that space, because you can get out of it, starting to outweigh your dreams. For a lighter example of, what the not limitation you is. So your dreams, the relationship, the place where you can fly in your dreams. Literally, you can fly when you remember your dreams. When you're awake, you can fly playing music. You can fly playing sports. You can fly writing. You can fly singing. You can fly whatever it is. You have the ability to fly. These are these zones that you have access to when you are not limited to the off-limits perspective. So allowing yourself to dream, allowing yourself to remember your dreams, learn from your dreams, expand yourself within those dreams. This is what I was saying. It's an actual proof. It started out as my observation, but when I learned to explain what it actually is, it's a proof of our reality. When you pay more attention to your dreams, it's not like I discovered this or anything, it's just an observation. I'm sure other people have spoken on this in many other ways. But from my observation of my dreams and the importance of dreams, when you dream, when you face your demons, when you face those parasites, when you know who and what you are to the umpteenth degree, then you will never be able to lose yourself no matter where you are. First, you have to face your fears, your challenges, your ability to change. And that's when you find out a deeper layer of who and what you are. Once you face all those spaces, then you will never be limited to whatever the dream world throws at you, because you're centered within yourself. So when you expand upon all of those abilities within your dreams, and mind you, this is not just for your dreams, this is for your waking state too. This is how this works. The expansion of facing all of those nightmares and facing all of those frequencies that vibe in dreams like nightmares. When you expand into those spaces, you are literally expanding the shockwave of not only who and what you are, but who and what the entire experience is. Because every time you meet somebody after you have expanded, every time you make a connection, every time you talk to somebody, every time you produce a piece of art, it will be reflective of all of the expansions that you went through. And when you are locked into fear and you're locked into this idea of what reality is based upon forefathers, so-called powers that be, and all this other nonsense that is within this reality, this synthetic reality, you won't be able to expand. You won't be able to question the artificial authority of the experience itself. You won't be able to challenge yourself. You won't be able to challenge the dream. that is when you're locked into limbo. You're locked into a zombification of your reality. You're neither dead nor alive. You're a zombie. That's the definition of a zombie. To think that you're alive and to be afraid of death is to neither be alive nor dead, or in an understanding of what death really is. It's the undead. So when you're locked into television, when you're locked into social media, all the artificial mechanisms, the genetically modified versions of your reality, you're literally worshiping the cult of the undead. The cult of heliocentrism is the cult of the undead. These undead planets, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Venus, Mercury, all of these energy light bodies that our ancestors were tapped into have been demonized, just like the indigenous and the aboriginal people were. And in that demonization, you separate yourself from the activations of who and what you are and who and what you were before you are the person that you are now. Because it's a constant expansion. The last contracted place you are at. The subcontracts of your contract. The subcontracts are the everything that make up your actual contract. The conscious realm contract is based upon how many other contracts, experiences, conscious realities, materialistic realms of realities based upon limitations to expand upon those limitations, outside of those limitations, out of the experience overall, through the experience, to expand out of the experience through the experience. That is never dying. That is to never die, because you are actually alive wherever you are. If you do not remember your dreams, you are not alive to the umpteenth degree of which you can be alive, because you are missing out on a huge part of yourself. You're missing out on a huge part of your mechanisms of expansion. This is why psychedelics are criminalized. This is why cannabis is criminalized. This is why alcohol is legal, cigarettes are legal, because they take away from that expansion. They take away from your time, your ability. Cancer from cigarettes, cancer from alcohol. It takes away your ability, your time to expand in the long run, not just limited to this experience right now. Anytime somebody steals your time, your seconds, your minutes, your hours, your moments, they're taking pebbles out of your ability to expand. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to limit yourself to what other people think of you. When you are sitting in your space, you don't do that. When you are sitting in the moment for what it is, you don't do that. That's what happens when you're in a dream. If you are not doing that, if you're not doing that in a dream, that's what takes you out of yourself in dreams, and you just sidestep your reality. Like I was saying in the last off limits video, you sidestep your reality, you're sidestepping your ability to expand, because every time you sidestep, that's the linear contract. But when you expand, you're writing new contracts. When you expand in your dreams, you're writing new contracts. So you expand your subcontracts, which is your subconscious everything, your 360-degree observation of this reality, existence in this reality of this perspective. When you expand those, you're not signing contracts, you're making new contracts from higher levels of consciousness, from higher vibrations, from higher frequencies. So this is why it's so important to dream. This is why it's so important to breathe. It's so important to challenge authority. It's so important to release the densities of who you think you are, or what other people think of you. Release all of this mind control programming and start your dream again. Start to expand yourself. Start to, like I said, in your dreams, when you're facing challenges and expanding your dreams, your subconscious reality, your 360 degree of yourself, you are writing new, more powerful, energetic contracts in your conscious reality. Each thought is a contract. Each moment, each time, each relationship, each time you meet somebody that's not on a mistake, it's not just everything happens on a higher vibration before it goes down to the lower vibrations. So this goes into the lower vibrations have to adjust to the higher vibrations. That's an actual law of frequency. The lower vibes in cymatics will adjust to the higher frequencies. They will get consumed by the higher frequencies. So when you're in your dream space, you're in your highest frequency. That's everything. That's why you can dream about other lives. You can dream about flying. You can dream about everything outside of limitation from your perspective. If you tune into it, this is what lucid dreams are. This is what, not only lucid dreams, but it gets into a deeper relationship when you lucid dream, as opposed to just remembering a dream. So the more we tap into ourselves, the more we'll be able to get from underneath the boot of illusionists, get from underneath the boot of ourselves, fighting ourselves, get from underneath the boot of these perspectives that don't benefit us. They don't benefit the individual, and they don't benefit the collective. This is what happens when you see all of this homelessness. So in order to maintain the entire system, the haves will release various experiences or tools or mechanisms to quiet down and play, to keep everybody in the checker game while the chess game continues to expand into the future. The next experience is for us to create more complex ideas of ourselves. So more complex synthetic ideas of ourselves is the artificial expansion of consciousness. This is what is at the infrastructure of the new age. This is what is at the infrastructure of keeping people imbalanced and making money or energy off of that. This is what is at the infrastructure of the destructive intelligence creating a synthetic universe in and around the balances of the creative and the destructive intelligence universe, the balances of this experience as a whole. Dreams are very important. Extremely important. Once you see all those linear contracts, they're seen for what they are, and they're no more contracts anymore. They're not contracts anymore. There are now pebbles in your expansion of your awareness. So each time you see a contract for what it really is, you see a moment. So an example of that is to see a moment for what it really is. To see yourself for who you really are, to see yourself for who you used to be, to see yourself in who you want to be, to see yourself constantly expand. Or are you going to constantly subject yourself to a low vibrating, neutral, undead version of life?